A government doesn't want you to be debt-free. Not completely, because the moment too many people stop borrowing, the entire economy starts to slow down. That sounds backwards. You've been told your whole life that debt is dangerous, something to avoid, something that traps people. And individually, that's often true. But zoom out, and the system tells a very different story. Right now, across the world, governments are dealing with one silent problem: growth. Everything depends on it. Jobs, salaries, businesses, even political stability. If the economy stops growing, things break fast. So the question isn't just how do we grow? The real question is, how do we keep people spending, even when they don't have enough money? That's where debt quietly enters the picture. Let's start with something simple. Imagine an economy with no borrowing at all. People only spend what they already have. No loans, no credit cards, no EMIs. Sounds safe, right? But here's what happens next. A family delays buying a car because they can't pay up front. A business delays expansion because it doesn't have enough cash. A student skips college because tuition is too high. Multiply that across millions of people. Suddenly, less money is moving. Fewer things are being bought. Companies earn less. They hire less. Some shut down. The economy slows. And when that happens, governments have a problem on their hands. So instead of stopping debt, they make it easier. Lower interest rates, more loans, more credit access. Because debt does something very powerful. It pulls future money into today. When you take a loan, you're not just spending your money. You're spending money you haven't earned yet. That creates demand, instantly. And demand is what keeps the system alive. This is why, after every major crisis, you'll notice the same pattern. Interest rates drop. Banks loosen lending. Credit becomes easier to get. It's not random. It's a controlled push. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Governments themselves are deeply in debt. Not a little, a lot. And unlike individuals, they don't try to pay it off quickly. They roll it over, expand it, live with it. Why? Because government debt also fuels the economy. When a government borrows, it spends on roads, salaries, subsidies, contracts. That money flows into businesses, into jobs, into households. So in a strange way, more debt means more activity, at least in the short term. But there's a catch. Actually, multiple. First, not all debt is equal. Debt used to build something productive, like infrastructure or business growth, can generate more income over time. But debt used just to maintain lifestyle, that's different. That creates pressure. Because eventually, the future arrives. And those future earnings you borrowed against now have to be paid back, with interest. This is where the quiet tension begins. The system needs people to borrow, but too much debt makes people fragile. If incomes don't grow fast enough, repayments start to hurt. Spending slows again, and the cycle repeats. Lower rates, more borrowing, temporary relief. It's like constantly refilling a leaking bucket. Now add one more layer, inflation. When prices rise over time, something interesting happens. Old debt becomes easier to pay back in real terms. You borrowed money when it was worth more, and repay it when it's worth less. So mild inflation actually helps a debt-heavy system survive, which is why completely killing inflation is not always the goal. Managing it is. Because a little inflation quietly reduces the real weight of debt across the entire economy. Now step back and look at the full picture. People are encouraged to borrow. Businesses rely on loans to grow. Governments run on deficits. Central banks adjust interest rates to keep the flow going. It's not chaos. It's a system designed around movement, and debt is the fuel. But here's the irony. The same thing that keeps the economy running is also what makes it unstable. Too little debt and growth stalls. Too much and things can collapse. So the system walks a thin line, carefully, constantly. And you, whether you realize it or not, are part of that balance. Every loan taken, every EMI paid, every delayed purchase, it all feeds into a much larger machine. The question is not whether debt is good or bad, it's who benefits from it and when. Because if the system needs you to keep borrowing to survive, at what point does your financial safety stop being the priority?